But let's start off this Tuesday morning with the latest in litigation against some Illinois gun laws. We've talked a lot about the ban on certain types of semi-automatic firearms and magazines and how that case is still proceeding in both the Seventh Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals, but also back in the Southern District of Illinois, where you've got Judge Stephen McGlynn still possibly going to enter a ruling on the vagueness challenge. So that all centers around the state's gun and magazine ban, while we also have the ongoing issues of the registration that's ongoing. But that's not the only law that Illinois has in place impacting firearms that's being challenged. You've got another challenge that's coming from the gun manufacturing and gun industry groups against the state's law that says that the private actions can be brought against the firearms industry for a variety of things. So this is the latest in that particular law because, of course, that once it was signed, it was instantly challenged, and that was earlier in the summer. But just as recent as last week, you have the state filing for a motion to dismiss. Before we read some of that motion to dismiss, let's go ahead and hear what the state had to say whenever they ultimately enacted this law. Here's Governor J.B. Pritzker, followed by Attorney General Kwame Raoul, laying out why they think that private actions need to be brought against firearms industry actors when it comes to litigation, holding them liable for a variety of alleged activities. Again, here's Governor J.B. Pritzker. This is last summer, if you recall. We talked about this weeks and months ago.
We hold opioid manufacturers accountable. We hold vaping companies accountable. We hold predatory lenders accountable. Gun manufacturers shouldn't get to hide from the law, and now they won't be able to.
So again, the governor signing that in front of a raucous crowd of gun control advocates up in Chicago, and on the stage with him was Attorney General Kwame Raoul, Senate President Don Harmon, State Representative Jihan Gordon Booth, the Lieutenant Governor, and various other individuals who are, of course, gun control advocates. But here's more from the governor and then Attorney General Kwame Raoul, and you'll also hear from Jennifer Gong Gershowitz.
Now, I want to make sure, because, you know, we've got folks in court cases who tend to use what I say. It is important to know that this law in no way targets those in the firearm industry who operate in a lawful manner. What this law does is clarify that the firearm industry, like any other business, must comply with the Consumer Fraud and Deceptive Practices Act. The legislation establishes that the firearm industry members who knowingly violate the law and endanger the public when selling firearms, for example, by not taking already required steps to prevent sales to straw purchasers, are liable for those irresponsible practices. It prohibits marketing that reasonably appears to support unlawful paramilitary and unlawful private militia. And it reminds gun industry members that you cannot market to our kids.
We do not tolerate automobile manufacturers touting the effectiveness of its latest model to mow down a crowd of people. We do not tolerate a steak knife manufacturer that advertises the cutting effectiveness of its blade for attacking people. Yet gun manufacturers use messages like "forces of opposition bow down," or "consider your man card reissued," or "use what they use," to appeal to those seeking tactical combat weapons used by the military.
With that sentiment of, trying to characterize a certain firearms manufacturer advertising a particular way, They seem to run up right against the text of the Second Amendment and the constitutionally protected activities of the Second Amendment. Somebody even in the chat this morning saying that this law violates PLACA, which I forget what the acronym is, but essentially it's protecting legal and constitutionally protected commerce, like the firearms industry. I mean, it's Second Amendment, the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, a well-regulated militia being necessary for the security of a free state, so on. But with the law that was signed over the summer, and you heard the proponents there, opponents quickly filed suit. And you have this case playing out in the federal courts where you had the case filed earlier in this summer. You had some motions that were, throughout the following weeks. But then last week, you had the state motion to dismiss, saying that the plaintiffs failed to bring a claim. And the plaintiffs responded to that promptly with a motion for preliminary injunction, and even with some of the other notices here, the actual deadlines have shifted because of the latest motions in this case. But let's go ahead and take a look at what exactly is going on here with the case that has some of the latest filings from last week. And you've got Attorney General Kwame Raoul's motion for the case to be dismissed. And looking at the overview, the outline here, the table of contents, really gives you a sense of just what exactly they're looking to argue. They say that the National Shooting Sports Foundation, the plaintiffs in this case, unlikely to succeed on the merits of their challenge, they say. The act cannot be enjoined because of PLACA. And again, that's the Protecting Lawful Commerce Act. NSF does not have a private right of action. The act is consistent with PLACA, the state claims. The court should decline to issue the advisory opinion that NSSF seeks regarding PLACA's predicate exception. There you go. Predicate meaning something that it prompts an action. It's for instance, if you get pulled over, there's a predicate that led to you being pulled over by police. They see that your taillight's out. That's the predicate that leads to an investigation. But the Attorney General's office goes on to lay out, saying that it comports with the First Amendment, it comports with due process, it comports with the Second Amendment, it comports with the Dormant Commerce Clause, and the National Shooting Sports Foundation does not have standing for injunctive relief. So therefore, they say in the table of contents, and you can go through and read all of this yourself. If you're not familiar with Court Listener, you can seek this out and find it. But ultimately, they're saying that the case should be dismissed. Well, what about the plaintiffs here? What's some of their arguments? They have, responses that they're expected to be filing. And of course, you've got the notice of attorneys coming in, the amicus briefs that are coming in, and the various other things that are happening when it comes to the motions being laid out in this case, in particular with how they want to make this go away with a motion to dismiss, but also they're motioning that the preliminary injunction that the National Shooting Sports Foundation is seeking should be done away with. But if you look at some of the other docket information here, you'll be able to see that there was amicus briefs filed by Everytown for gun safety, gun control lobby groups. You see the amicus briefs being filed for Giffords Law Center and a variety of other gun control groups. And I imagine you'll see some amicus briefs filed on behalf of the plaintiffs' groups as well. But the judge yesterday ordered a motion to leave for amicus briefs, but also set and reset deadlines. So there's some actions that are going to be required to happen by November 20th. So that's another date that we got to put on the calendar here, November 20th. And this is just for the firearms liability lawsuit, all right? So we'll be watching this just as we're watching the 7th Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals, just as we're watching the Southern District of Illinois Court on the gun ban and registry case, just as we're watching the Southern District case on the FOID card challenge as well, with some deadlines coming up. So we'll be looking at these things each and every morning here in Illinois as litigation against gun laws continues. But could there be more gun laws? Looks like possibly starting today, fall veto session at the Illinois State House. And one measure that could come up could impact those who are subject of orders of protection and whether or not police are going to be required to confiscate firearms in those cases. That's just one of many issues that could come up during fall veto session. So we will definitely be looking at that here next. I'm Greg Bishop. Thanks for hanging out. You can always find me. Just search Bishop on Air if you want to stay up to date with the latest. But of course, you can like and subscribe, comment below. What are your thoughts about all of these things and more? So definitely looking forward to hearing from you.